Hi, Anti-Society! Welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are getting into Vinland Saga Season 2. I know I'm late, okay? I get that. But I wanted to wait until all of the episodes were out because I wanted to binge it. It's not going to be up on the channel that quickly, but if you want the episodes early, they're over on my Patreon. I wanted to wait until they were all aired, and then literally the moment that they finished airing, I had a bunch of life stuff happen, and stuff got complicated in general, and I knew that this is going to be a very intense series that I wanted to give my brain to, and I wasn't in the headspace for that. Now we are here. We are finally getting into season 2 of Vinland. I'm excited, but also I don't really know what I'm about to step into, which feels weird for a second season because I've heard that the first season is more of a prologue for the series. I'm assuming we're going to still be with Thorfinn, but I don't really know what else we're going to be dealing with. We're probably gonna get introduced to some new characters. I don't know. I don't really know where he's gonna be at now because Asklad isn't around. So I'm not sure where we're going to be jumping in this first episode, which is exciting, honestly, for a second season. So let's just get into this first episode and see what the series has for us for season 2. In 3, 2, 1, go. Are we starting with the opening song? That's strange for a first episode. The change in the eyes, though. Is that our Thorfinn? Whoa. This feels a little bit like Underworld-esque. Oh my gosh, look at everybody growing up. Ooh, the like scar turning into like an eye, though. I think it's interesting with like the goblet too imagery. Because there's like a toast, but also something ornate about it. I also think of like Holy Grail. Again, with the like afterlife imagery or Valhalla in some way, perhaps. Interesting to start with like a forge. Creating something new. Interesting tattoo. What language is this? Is it Nordic? Because my default is Welsh, but I don't know if that's true unless we're dealing with like Asklath because he's Welsh. I'm gonna feel dumb if it's Welsh and I was like questioning myself. Look, it's been a long time since I've had to speak Welsh. Oof. Okay, but like maybe not where it can fall in the house. Seems like a parallel with Thorfinn, like being with mother and sister, I'm assuming. Yeah, because she referred to him as brother before, didn't she? Is that the town that burned before? He does not look impressed. I don't trust peaceful villages in this series. Yeah. I was like, I don't know if this is the same village, but I'm like, it can't last. Peace and serenity is not something that the series, yeah. It's like, I don't trust it. I have a bad feeling. Not everyone's getting out of this. Not just because I know the series, but because they're really trying to establish the relationship between these three, and I'm like, at least one of you is dying. Possibly more. I feel like we're focusing on her too much, like she's gonna make it out and maybe the other two don't. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, because we had before where the mom was like, we're both gonna be with you. And I'm like, that feels like we're definitely gonna get separated. I have a bad feeling. Definitely probably should run. Why do I feel like he's gonna fight them? Oh no. Points for fighting back though. I don't think it's gonna end well for her, but yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling that was gonna happen. I feel like this is gonna be the start of him really training to be a warrior now, because before he was like, I need to be able to protect you. And clearly he wasn't up to par to do that. Probably some vengeance too, because yeah, that looks like the face of somebody who is gonna let rage win. Oof, the voice acting though. Mm, poetic. Wow. Like the way that they've made him look so different, like emaciated. I find that like a lot of, at least with like animation, they don't usually like nail that kind of design because they're trying to stay with the same character design they already had. But they did a really good job with like using the shadows to just make him look like his bone structure just like really prominent. We're gonna throw her over the edge. I mean, is it like illness? Whoa. Some really cool choices with the art. Like the way that they're transitioning between different points and like I like the atmosphere of it. Feels different than it did in the first series. See, like that transition from like these stormy waters to like this really calm, like inland water. His hair's shorter. Oh, we're making a run for it? I feel like that is not going to end well for you. Really? I was like, I would have thought that someone would have been on your tail immediately. Seems like a good way to get stabbed by somebody coming home and seeing you there. Oh. See, like the contrast between like the brutality and like the sunset is so interesting. I don't like that question. Is this going to be the new master? Hello. Oh, I was like, were you looking for Thorfinn? I don't know if he's small anymore. The way that he's still looking though. I don't know if he would feel that way, but he may realize eventually. Good transition there too. See, it's so like artistic. It's a great way of showing like what he's feeling and thinking without actually like giving that exposition. Well, it's a bit of land. Oh. I love having the him striking the tree because before it was like him saying, I'm training because I want to become stronger and be able to protect things that matter to me. And then having that transition right there where he's like, have I really not lost? And then it's like that hit of him being like, I have chosen to continue living. So well like put together. I was gonna say, are we gonna meet? Are we gonna see our boy again? I guess probably not a boy anymore though. Name sound familiar? Oof, you look a little rough, buddy. Interesting. That looks like a whole lot of not a lot around for a long way. Interesting. A lot of setup in this one of just establishing Anod as like a character, and I'm assuming a character that is going to continue to be important because we spent all this time with him, but also because he has met up with Thorfinn. So I'm assuming that the two of them are going to be teaming up in some way. I'm assuming to reconnect Thorfinn with his family. Because if Einar doesn't have any family, then I feel like he's going to feel more inclined to help someone who could reconnect with those people. I'm just waiting to see if there's something at the end. I don't know if there will be. Okay, so they're together in the end credits, so I'm assuming that's gonna be part of it. I guess Thorfinn is a bit smaller in comparison. We're gonna meet the rest of the farmhands. Interesting setup for the series, and I knew as soon as it was like, here's a serene village that had just been rebuilt, and I was like, this is going to end horribly. The way that it was this sharp transition into the destruction, though, it wasn't lining up any shots, it wasn't creating these different transitions that we had seen through other parts of the episode. It was like this very stark, suddenly we were in a very different scene, and I think that's a really interesting way of juxtaposing those two things and having lots of other moments where they were juxtaposing different elements of both like the beauty and the serenity of certain parts of the story and then the brutality and destruction of other parts. And I don't know, there's something about this season that feels more, there's an upgrade in the storytelling. It feels more poetic, and maybe that is just because this is a bit of a setup episode. It wasn't something that was super action heavy because we were establishing Einar as, I want to roll my R because that's like the Celtic in me. It was my problem when I was learning Irish, is I was just trying to roll my R's all the time. But establishing him as a character and his past, his backstory, how does he fit into the rest of the story? What are his motivations or possible motivations? And how is he going to interact with Thorfinn now that they're together? It might just be like they took a bit of a more poetic way of telling that particular story as opposed to something that is more plot heavy or action heavy, that they may go back to something a little more conventional. But I loved it. I loved the more artistic way of doing different transitions and lining up different shots to establish us in being in different places, and also juxtaposing different beats of Einar remembering things or showing in a visual way how he's thinking or feeling and how he feels about his place in this new world, this new reality that he finds himself in. I love when he was on the boat and you could see these waves become this ghoulish thing that was like swirling around him in this darkness, and then it transitioned into this little river or lake or whatever. And I loved the image of that because you can tell that he feels like he is lost at sea, like he is lost in these rocking waves, this darkness that he can't figure out where he is or where he's supposed to be, and he's literally lost his footing, his grounding in what he's supposed to be doing. And I love how they were able to show that without needing to get into exposition, even though we have him with the internal dialogue, his internal narration, that they could have established what he was thinking or feeling that moment, and instead they didn't. And I love that because one of my pet peeves with animation, especially adaptation from a manga or any kind of source material, is when people don't show me something in the actual anime, especially utilizing animation as a form of storytelling. And I just feel like this episode did a really good job of playing with the fact that it is both, one, a visual medium, and two, animation. You can do lots of things in animation that you cannot pull off easily or well in a live action version of something. I loved that they were really utilizing that in this episode, but I'm excited to see what this new team up possibly could be. Checking in with Thorfinn, he seems a little bit empty at the moment. He looks a little rough, so I'm worried about him, but I like that he's just on a farm. I was honestly worried. I was worried he would end up somewhere worse, honestly. After everything that went down, I was a little bit worried that he would be in a much worse predicament. So we'll have to wait and see how the rest of this series shakes out, but I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go and see my reactions to season 1, or you can subscribe so this next time I post a Vinland Saga reaction. I gotta remember that now that I've come back to it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.